This video is about something I've been thinking a lot about lately. A lot, like way after the fact, you start thinking about stuff. Like, that was suspicious. That was peculiar. Those questions were odd. And that's what I've been doing. Um, I'm a natural investigator, so, I think about these things later on. Like, that was suspicious. But anyways, that's what the video's about. If you've never been taken to a psych ward or volunteered yourself into a psych ward, you may not know what I'm talking about. But if you have, when you're a few days in, when you're in a psych ward, a designated examiner, who we hope is an actual designator examiner, that's what this video's about, comes in and examines you, to see if you're dangerous to, and all that stuff. This is what the video's about. Some of the things the designator examiner said and asked, some of the questions, made me think he was placed as a designator examiner recently. And some of the stuff he said in court against me, when we were in court, I'm like, the public defender was like asking his background credentials, and he barely said any. You know what I mean? Like, and the judge is like, it doesn't matter. The judge is like, doesn't matter, we accept him. You know what I mean? Like, he was brought in from somewhere else recently, to help the good old boys, or was part of the good old boys somewhere else. The good old boys spreads widespread across the globe to help each other out, He wasn't even here when Victor Perez was murdered. I'm like, he's not even a native here. He's recently put here. Maybe he was just placed here just for me. Once I hit that part of their agenda when I was in the psych ward. Once I was in that part of their agenda, that's when he came in. He was already there. You know what I mean? Along with the undercover nurse cops. That's another video. I confirmed that by the end of the psych ward. I'm like, they were calling me crazy for saying, that a couple nurses, well, at least one of them was an undercover cop. Totally looked like a cop. I'm like, that's a cop. I'm like, how long's he been a nurse? They're like 5 months. I'm like, that's suspicious. So he was placed there after Victor was shot too. Planted there. That's what we call them. It's a jail term. The inside guys for the good old boys to spy on you are called plants. So that's what I think one of the nurses, maybe even a couple nurses, and the designated examiner were just plants for their side of things. You know what I mean? Their agenda. And there was an agenda for sure. But I survived, barely, to this point. They're ruthless. I gave him a chance to back out. I'm like, I know you're part of the good old boys. I know you're against me. Giving you a chance to stand up to the good old boys. I'm giving you a chance. I'm like, would you trust yourself if you were me? He's like, but I'm not you. That's a telltale sign. He's against me. So, but I was right. I'm like, I just want a fair hearing. I'm like, I gave him a chance to stand strong against the good old boys. Didn't do it. I'm like, maybe he got bought off for $1 billion. I don't know. Hope it's worth it. I hope it's worth it. But anyways, but yeah, some of the questions he asked me were odd. A ton of questions about the FBI. That's why I think he was part of the FBI. I don't know for sure. It's just my guess. And if I were to picture an FBI guy, I would picture a guy that looked like him and acted like him and talked like him. If I were to picture an FBI guy, not a low-level FBI underling agent surveillance guy that follows me around, that they were doing for months. Not one of those, but more of the middle-level FBI guys. If I were to picture an FBI guy, the designated examiner fits the bill of what I would picture a middle-level FBI guy looks like. So I imagine he was placed there by the FBI because he had a lot of questions about the FBI. The second go around, he interviewed me twice. I didn't want him to interview me the second time because I knew he was against me in the courtroom, the kangaroo court. I'm like, I'm like, can we get a different designated examiner to evaluate me? But they didn't. They got the same one. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be screwed again. You know what I mean? You know, in order for me to have a fair anything, it has to be someone that's neutral, that's not part of the good old boy agenda. So I knew I was screwed. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be locked up somewhere even longer. You know, and I was, no matter what I do. But at least I wasn't. At least I wasn't locked up in 3 different facilities in a row like they wanted to. It ended up being 2 in a row, thanks to God and this and some of the staff. They're like, "There's an agenda against this guy. We know it," so they put pressure on him. So that's the thing about lying and being part of an agenda. It's hard to be consistent with your lies and the con. You know, I'm like, all that scheming is hard to cover up from the regular people, including myself. I'm like, let them scheme away, whatever. Can't stop them anyways. You know, they have free will. Let them scheme away, whatever. I'll just chill here, have a good time. But anyways, that's not what the video's about. But then I saw the designated examiner in jail. So I guess he examines people in jail as well, but he could be there to keep an eye on me, to make sure I'm still there. I don't know. You know, until the election was over, I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? The good old boys, they can't help themselves, but, you know, the behavior is predictable. It's like the same behavior of a psychopath, but with, like, many people. And I've been around psychopaths, as you guys know, most of my life, you know. Both my parents are psychopaths, so I know the behavior of the psychopath. They always have to watch you, always have to keep track of you, always have to, you know, lock you up, you know, and I mean, it's just like contain you, you know. It's the same thing, but bigger scale. Just imagine your psychopath parent, but just replace government with a lot of people. It's the same pattern. Flying monkeys, you know, just imagine people with badges, the flying monkeys that, you know, gang stalk you and put you in handcuffs. You know what I mean? It's the same dynamic. You know what I mean? For those that know the dynamic of the psychopath, you know what I mean? And the flying monkeys and all that stuff, you know, the guys, the underlings that follow you around, you know, it's the same thing. But just, I know it's weird to a lot of people, but it's exactly the same. What? Yeah, I've been studying this behavior since I was a kid. It's very evil. It's very satanic. You know, it's like Satan's playbook, but in physical bodies. You know what I mean? But that's why they call me crazy. But I'm like, I've been studying this behavior for a while. You know, the enemy's behavior. I'm just like, do whatever. Lock me up there. Okay. Lock me up there. Okay. Call me crazy there. Okay. Doesn't matter. All right. You know what I mean? I already know it by heart. You know what I mean? I've been dealing with this for decades. I've been up against this opponent for decades. It's predictable. You know what I'm saying? All that's left is them to drop a nuclear bomb on me. That's all that's left. I'm serious. What else is there? I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, that's not what this video is about. It's about very peculiar designated examiner. Designated examiner. That's what I was thinking today. I'm like, he's no designated examiner. He may be one now, but like before that, what was he? Part of the FBI. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely on their side. Definitely was helping them. You know what I mean? So definitely wasn't middle neutral. He definitely wasn't neutral. You know, I was completely sober, and they were calling me crazy. Sober, harmless. I didn't harm a fly. You know, I was petting bugs at the psych ward. I didn't harm anything. And them calling me like this is crazy, dangerous person. It was just kangaroo court, and everyone knew it. You know what I mean? But I let them do it. I let the circus go. I'm just like, whatever. The public defender was like shocked. He's like, he's not crazy at all. You know? I'm like, duh. It's called the kangaroo court agenda. You know? Hello. I've been through this before. Hello. Anyways, that's all I'll say for this video. It's like, but It's in my mind now. Designated examiner may not be quite a designated examiner. He said he wear many hats. Maybe one of those hats is FBI agent, double agent. Who knows? But I don't know. I don't know for sure. But someone's questions were peculiar. He definitely is not a native here. He's brought in from somewhere else. You know what I mean? Maybe for just me. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. But what they don't know, like never mind. I'll leave that for another video. And that's all I'll say.